right, thank you. Okay, bye.
Since I was a kid, I've always been a fan of the NFL. I've been in awe of the history of this franchise throughout my football life. From the Hall of Famers who I watched every Sunday, and to the teams that I've played against and coached against. To the everlasting memories that help define what makes this league so important to me. The legacy of this organization is most definitely special. So when I say that coaching this franchise is an honor, I take it very seriously. You can truly understand how grateful I am to represent it. But I assure you that Dan Snyder feels the same level of pride for this franchise and for the people who support it. We've changed before. And through the highs and the lows, we've all come to realize that one thing will always hold true. This is our team. Our franchise. Our legacy. 2 world championships and 3 Super Bowl championships, 70 chip. The Hogs. And hundreds of other magical moments will remain in our hearts forever. Nobody can ever take that away. But as times change, so must this team. And it starts today. The next 100 years of this franchise begins now. A new era is upon us, where we must unite together under a code of honor, respect, and a shared passion for what it means to live and work here. To all of our fans around the world, we must move forward together. We must stand together. We must celebrate together. And we must fight together. Because we are all Washington.
If that doesn't get you hyped, look, we know it's been a very long off season. So much has happened, but we now are Washington football. Julie Donaldson, Santana Moss here with you. We're at the Innova Sports Performance Center, where the teams right now, the field is empty because, well, the rookies and the quarterbacks, they came out, they're doing their Zoom meetings. The veterans came out, they went through some physicals, some testing a little bit earlier, but soon this field is going to be full with the entire team going through walkthroughs. And we're going to make sure that we are here with you the entire time, bringing you everything that's going to be happening with this team, because we know you've waited a long time to see how this is all going to come together, to see how it all unfolds. Look, let's take a little look back at what has happened since that very last game. Well, it's been a wild, long season, Santana. 5 weeks in, Jay Gruden was let go of his duties. Interim coach Bill Callahan stepped into place. Big challenge for the players to have to try and adjust midseason.
Yeah, I never had a chance to experience that, having an interim coach come in, but the team handled it well. Even though they didn't have a bunch of wins, you saw the difference in their play. And that's something that gave us hope that next year, when you get the right system and get the right coaches in here, this team can really flourish.
And then you take a look on December 30th, Bruce Allen was relieved of his duties. He had been with the team for 10 years and a decade. That tenure was over at the end of the season. They didn't take long before they named head coach Ron Rivera as the new man to take over and lead this team from a 3-13 season to hopefully back to the promised years of when they had won those Super Bowls. We will see how Rivera's come together. He brings in immediately Jack Del Rio, a former head coach himself, to take over as defensive coordinator. Scott Turner will be the offensive coordinator. You see the changes happening in the front office as you go through this. A lot of moves being made as Rivera is evaluating his staff, trying to put into place who he believes he can get this franchise turned around and headed in the right direction. But then, of course, as he's trying to evaluate his staff, Corona happens, and the facility is closed. COVID-19 and Santana, no mini camps, no OTAs, and the team is still trying to get together, and Rivera is trying to learn who his players are.
It's tough, one of the things that we all know, especially when these young guys getting a chance to finally reach that pinnacle for them that they all dreamed about when they was young, now to finally be here, but doesn't have that chance to have that off season and have to come right into things without a preseason and have to play football games. So I know it's tough for everybody, but when you're a professional, things like this happen often, so you have to know how to adjust and be pros.
All right, well, Chase Young is going to learn how to be a pro very quickly as he was drafted number 2 overall. So much excitement to see what he brings to this defense. We'll be talking about that in a minute. And then, of course, July 3rd, the Redskins name is officially retired, and we are now going forward calling ourselves the Washington Football Team. Of course, there's been a dark cloud over this franchise as the Washington Post story and sexual harassment came around. They're making sure that they clean the house, that anything that was going on in the past does not carry on in the future, and that is what Rivera is putting into place, what we're hopefully putting into place here as we do go forward as the Washington Football Team. So it has been a very unique, very busy, very stressful and very heavy off season. But finally, Santana, we can get to where the guys are going to be on the field. They're going through their testing, they've gone through their physicals, and soon they're finally going to be together. I mean, it's been a long time since they've even just seen each other.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we can all hope. When you're watching these other leagues, have a chance at playing their sports, you just hope that the football, NFL-wise, that we can have the same production. One of the things that I love about the situations that's set up now, that these guys will be testing, so now we can try to home in on some of those guys and make sure that we can keep everyone safe while they're out here. Who knows what may come tomorrow or later on down the week, but for right now, these guys have hope that they're going to have a season.
Well, you've seen a lot of the other sports, especially Major League Baseball, have to deal with COVID and players testing positive. You're starting to see a little bit of that in the NFL as players do come back. But even as Rivera says, you're going to have responsibility. You're going to have to be a professional. Make sure that when you do go home and you are away from the facility, that you're handling your business the right way. So you're not jeopardizing the team and putting them in any place that's going to be bad and set them back. But you look around here in the facility, and the building's roped off certain ways. There's certain tiers of which one you are. Players are tier 1, certain coaches and other staff tier 2, we're tier 3. So we're going to be removed a bit from the team. And you look around, there's a whole bunch of different tents around here because they can't be just in the same locker room. They have to spread that out. The weight rooms are going to be outside. Almost all the meetings, no longer do you just go into the meeting room. You're going to go home and you're going to have the Zoom meetings. How do you think that's going to impact just the business, daily business as usual?
Well, I think one of the things that you have to do is know how to adjust. And right now, in order for you to have a successful season, these are some of the measures you have to take. And I think right now this is the start of things. Hopefully down the road we can have some change in the world and see some of the things uplift, and we can have these guys have some normalcy. But right now they have to adjust and be willing to do what's needed for them to go out there and be able to play starting September.
I know a lot of guys were saying they're excited to finally get back because this is one thing that they've missed. They've missed that brotherhood during the offseason where normally they would have those relationships and build that chemistry. So they're excited to be back here together. You saw that on their faces as they come in, even making sure that they're safe, wearing masks and keeping their distances as best that they can. We're going to get further into what is the defense going to look like with Chase Young. How about those second-year players, Haskins, McLaurin, Sims? What are they expecting in year 2 of their careers? And also, we're going to break down the running back room. It's fully loaded, but we'll all be making the roster. Stay with us here on Training Camp Daily.
This summer, get back in the driver's seat. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Like the versatile HR-V or the fun-to-drive CR-V. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the CR-V at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
A moment of joy, a source of inspiration, an act of kindness, an old friend, a new beginning, some welcome relief, or a cause for celebration. What's inside? Possibilities. What we deliver by delivering.
It's the king. Please join us. We're here for the ride.
Yeah, Peter!
Let's go!
We're back. season.
Welcome back into Training Camp Daily. Yes, football is finally here. We're all kind of a little anxious and excited to kind of see how it's going to really play out amongst COVID, because many people are having to stay from home. Meeting rooms will be taken from home on Zooms. But at one point, the players will all be out here warming up, going through walkthroughs. It's going to be about a week and a half before they finally get into practicing. But look, they haven't been around here during mini camps or OTAs, so they have to make sure that they kind of get the weight rooms in, get the conditioning in, because we don't want to see those extra injuries popping up.
Yeah, it always happens, and you can see it in every sport. You know, when you don't have that chance to be here and being amongst each other. You know, you can work out all year long, all off season long, but when you're out here, it's one thing about being in football shape, and you're not going to be in football shape unless you're out here practicing with your team. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes up with one or not.
You know, when I was talking with John Allen earlier, he said you're going to find out very quickly who was putting in the work in the offseason and who wasn't. One person that we know was putting in a whole lot of work was Chase Young, the number 2 overall draft pick out of Ohio State, OHIO. He's joining Terry McLaurin and Dwayne Haskins Jr. as fellow Buckeyes on this team. And boy, they couldn't be more excited to have him on this defense. Already, you look at where this defensive line is, Santana, and it is the strength of the team. They are stout, they are loaded, and you add Chase Young to the mix. What does he bring?
Well, you said it. You know, they're stout. You know, he's like that missing puzzle piece that, you know, our D-line needed, and I think he's only going to make those guys around him that much better. You know, last year you saw those guys have a chance here and there, have some opportunities and show glimpses of what they could be. But I think one of the things that, you know, kind of put a halt to what they was trying to do last year is just communication. It was always a problem up front and the back end. So now you change the defense around, you're bringing a young talent and Chase Young, and who knows, the sky's the limit for this defensive line.
You look at what Nick and Joey Bosa did to the teams when they went on. Both won Defensive Rookie of the Year. And people are already putting such high expectations on Chase, saying, look, he's automatically a Hall of Famer, and he hasn't even been on the field yet with his teammates. Are those expectations too high for him?
It's scary when you start hearing folks whisper those kind of whispers and say those kind of things, but at the end of the day, he's a player. He knows what to be expected of himself, and I think he's going to be ready for the challenge. He's a tremendous talent, very dynamic player, so when you see him get out there and put those cleats on, then we can start talking about what he's going to be to this league. But one thing about this league, he's going to have to grow up real fast because there's no kids or boys out here.
Okay, grow up real fast. People are already imagining he's going to come in and he's going to be starting and putting in a good heavy workload right there. When I first met him in person, we were coming in for our COVID testing, and my dog Lucy was there and ran up and said hi. I think I was more excited than Lucy was. I wasn't sure. But he is impressive. I mean, when you just look at his physical body and the stature that he has, you can see why when opposing teams, when they see him out there, they're going to be trembling a little bit and say, okay, we need to make sure that we're ready. Where is he lined up? And they're going to line him up on both sides because you need to try and confuse. He's going to draw those tumble teams. So they said they want to put him on both sides to try and confuse which way do you go with him. Yeah.
One of the things you look at him, he passes the eye test. So when you have a guy like that, you can't just hide him on one end and say, you know what, make do. You know, you want to be able to change this guy, move this guy around. And also, it brings a different dynamic to your defensive front with the other guys. You know, you don't want to get them out of position, or you want to put them in spots where if he is getting a double team, then now they can flourish. They can go out there and get after the quarterback. So we have a pretty good problem here with our D-line, and I'm just waiting to see it cause havoc.
I love that you call it a problem. That's because now you're wondering how many players can have those reps on the field. Who do you think is most excited to see him out there?
I think one of the things you look at, I think our defense as a whole, the coaching staff. When you have players, we have so many guys. You know, you have Settles, you have Payne, you have Allen, you have our old vet, Kerrigan.
And
Ioannidis and Sweat. It goes on and on and on. But when you have so many guys and you look at the success in this league at that area, you know, most teams that were successful had a chance to really bring those players in and out to cause those guys to have that extra rest and be strong when they're out there and be fresh. So I think the problem that we have, that Del Rio is going to have, is that who he's going to hold down longer than others. I think he has a great problem with that, but at the same time, you want to make sure that when you got those guys out there, you put them in position to excel. You put them in position to be at their strength, and I think that's the thing that we have when we have all those guys that we can really pick from.
I can see him rotating with Ryan Kerrigan and Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat really kind of came on a good bit at the end of last season as well, especially with that arm length to be able to try and get at the quarterback, which we know in this league, you have to be able to pressure the quarterback. I mean, these guys out there, Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz, they are just slinging it. Daniel Jones, you have to be able to do that. They definitely will with Chase Young joining here. And we've seen him before in past, that D-line be the strength of the team, but just as the season went on, get worn down because they didn't have enough depth. They couldn't have enough rotation. Now you have Jack Del Rio moving from the 3-4 to the 4-3. How much would that, do you think, kind of impact the ability to be able to kind of extend them a little bit?
Well, I always hated the 3-4 defense. I believe it came to our team when in year 9 or 10 for me, I believe it was 2010 when we implemented that defense. And if you don't have the guys up front for that defense, then you're putting yourself in harm's way. And one of the things I noticed that when you're in 3-4 defense, that front line is basically, collecting double teams. They're not having a chance to really get off the block and go out there and get after the quarterback. You might have one or two guys, and that's your edge guys getting after the quarterback. In a 4-3, the offense now have to play these guys straight up. So now you're going to get those one-on-one matchups, or you're going to get that one particular guy, Chase Young, that's going to see that double team that's going to allow Allen or Payne or Ioannidis or Sweat coming off his side. Now these guys are going to be able to get favorable matchups where they can excel and be their best. So I'm happy to see the 4-3 back, and I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys can do with it.
Ryan Kerrigan says he hasn't played in that since he was in college, and he was so excited. I mean, look, I don't think he really didn't drop back too much, but he prefers just to be able to get up and go forward, right? And when he was asked that question, a lot of times it was a little confusing of why would he, but look, with this system of the 4-3, you don't have to. Of course, though, are they in that all the time? Well, Jack Del Rio was talking about why he was making the move from the 3-4 to the 4-3. Here is his answer.
We're talking about base defense in today's NFL is about a third of the game. It's really you're in sub packages, some form of sub packages where you're playing against 3 wides or more, and you're playing against that roughly 65 to 70% of the time. So, we're talking about a small percentage of the plays, but our overall approach is going to be more where they've been doing a lot of 2-gapping. A lot of playing both sides of a blocker. We're going to ask our guys to be more penetrating and disruptive. And our linebackers and secondary will understand how to fit off of that. And so they're going to have a lot more freedom in terms of being able to generate the beginning of a pass rush while we're playing the run. So it's kind of an aggressive approach to playing the run on the way to the quarterback, and I think our guys are going to really like it.
Santana, switching to the 4-3 is something that I know many fans have been saying, why did they not go to that sooner? But look, you're a nickel a lot of times anyways. But how do you think this is really going to impact this team, since it is something that people have been clamoring for quite a while?
Well, one of the things I look at is who's calling the shots. And Del Rio, I've been a player playing against him a lot, and it's been always tough pickings when you face this guy. He finds a way to get the best guys up front in the D-line to get out to your quarterback, and he has his secondary. He has those guys in the back end playing in a situation where you don't get too many, man-on-man matchups. And if you think you have man-on-man, somebody's underneath you or somebody's over the top. So I think it's going to favor these guys well, because one of the things you want to protect is those guys in the back end. You see them too many times put in positions that they shouldn't be in because we're not getting after the quarterback. And folks ask me all the time, what is the best defensive back you ever played against, or cornerback? And I said the best front line. The team that has the best front line is my worst defender. So I'm looking forward to seeing our defenders make our guys in the back end job easy.
Yeah, I know the secondary. I mean, look, every secondary loves it when you can get the pressure on them to be able to try and go out there and make some good plays. And the secondary has a little bit of places that need to be filled out. We're a little uncertain of how they're going to go in. Chris Harris was talking with the media as well, though, and he said, look, I don't want to call them corners or safeties or free safeties. He's like, I want to call us DBs first. But you instantly bring Chase Young in there, and that really helps them. That they can play maybe a little bit more zone and maybe have a little bit more impact, because that's an area that they struggled with some deep, long passes last season as well. So it's going to be exciting to be able to see these players fit the personnel a little bit better, go out there. And look, this team is going to be built on defense. The wins will probably come on defense first until we kind of see how that offense is going to maturate and get together.
Well, defense win championships. And being an offensive guy, you might find it weird for me to say that, but I believe it. I grew up I grew up playing both sides. I played cornerback when I was younger, and I remember those days where we had to lean on our defense, and the defense finds its way to, take points or keep points off the board. And now it's time for you just to go out there and do what you're gifted to do, and that's score. So offensively, we have the weapons. We're going to have a great, chance to really go out there and be phenomenal when it comes to putting the ball in the air or running on the ground. But it's up to the defense to go out there and hold teams and make sure that they don't put points up as well as we do.
All right, since Santana mentioned offense, when we do come back here on Training Camp Daily, we're going to talk a little bit about those receivers, because you have Terry McLaurin, but then who else is going to fill that out? Also, the development of Dwayne Haskins Jr. in his second year, why he feels more confident, and can he really be the man to lead this team? Stay with us. We're coming right back.
This summer, it's time to get back outdoors. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Enjoy the sunshine in the family-friendly Pilot or the rugged Passport. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the Pilot at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
Miracles. What we deliver by delivering.
They're here.
All right, we are back on Training Camp Live. We just did the X's. We're going to do the O's. But, of course, as we will be here every morning throughout the week at 9 a.m., we're going to dive much deeper as the team finally takes the field. And we kind of get to see, because we haven't been able to see what you really can expect from anyone out here, Santana. We've had no mini camps, no OTAs, and already we're trying to predict roster positions and how they're going to look, and we just don't know until they're out there. That's what the coaches have been saying. All right now, it's just been evaluation on film and what they're doing in the offseason with their workout videos, which we've seen a good bit of. So it's time here with the O's. A lot of those offseason workouts that we've seen has been Dwayne Haskins Jr. It's been very well documented that he's looking pretty svelte. I mean, he's lost a good bit of weight. He's been paying more attention to his diet. He's been on the field. You've seen him working out with Antonio Brown, with Odell Beckham Jr.'s, with a lot of the rookies as well from last season in his class. Unfortunately, Kelvin Harmon injured his leg. He is out for this season. They had such high hopes for him to really take some big steps. He's not out there. But when you talk about coming into your sophomore year, like, how much does that really help them? I mean, they got more playing time than most rookies did because, well, they had to last season. I think they played more rookies and more times than any other team in the league. How much can we really expect this group, this young group, to make strides in year two?
Well, it's going to be tough. You know, one of the things that I heard out the gate when I was a pro is the sophomore slump. Luckily and fortunately, I got hurt my first year, so the second year was basically my first year all over again.
I was saying, whoever uses the word fortunate with injury, just you, okay.
It was fortunate for me, but when you look at these guys and how they played last year, out the gate, all these guys showed great potential. Even Haskins with the little bit of time that he got here and there. I believe, though, now learning the system. You know, one of the things people take for granted is learning the system. When you're young and now you're on your second system in your second season, that's really tough. So I'm looking forward to see how these guys handle that first. I think as a coaching staff, they're not going to throw the book at them because, especially with COVID and then just, being young and then having to, mature into this new offense in the scheme of things, they're going to basically, give it to him as much as they could at a time and see how much they can take. But I'm looking for him to go out there and not miss a beat. I think they're all mature enough to go out there and handle the situation. Like I spoke before, being a pro is being a pro. You're going to be thrown in a lot of situations that you're not familiar with, and you have to overcome it.
Again, you saw a lot of them. I mean, Terry McLaurin kind of came on the scene right off the bat. You saw during camp last year that he just stood out, neck and shoulders above the rest. So almost got to 1,000 yards last season. You expect high hopes from him, but even as he said, one of the reasons he's anticipating a little bit more challenges this year is because there's tape on him.
Yeah.
You didn't have that before. Is that part of the reason why you get sophomore slumps, or what is the big cause for why maybe things might teeter off in the second year?
Well, when you get in the sophomore slump, who knows what's the cause, but I think that he said it well. Now he has tape on him, so it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to those guys now game planning for him. But with that being said, when you scheme things around a guy like him, that's going to open doors for everyone else. And when you had a guy like Sims Jr. who got off last year, we was looking forward to Harmon, but he's not going to, unfortunately, he's not going to be with us this year. But you have a lot of other guys that you can really now say, hey, this door is open for someone to take over this job. Another Cam is out there that we hoping and wearing the number that I'm familiar with. We can hope that he can probably have a chance, and see if he can get into the thick of things. But with AG, Antonio Gibson, and then you have AGG, what is his name, Gandy Golden. Gandy Golden was one of my favorite, pickups for this team this year. I was hoping that we got him, and now we have him in door. I think that this door is wide open for those guys to have a shot to be where Terryton was at last year in their freshman year.
It's kind of crazy to think that the veterans on this team, especially when it does come to that, they're just sophomores.
Yeah.
They're just in their second year, and they have more experience than a lot of them coming into this offense there. When you do watch the videos, I'm just kind of curious. Okay, so Dwayne's out there, and he's showing he's putting in the work.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing, and I've heard even Terry McLaurin say this, like the ball's just coming out different. He's improving the accuracy. It's falling in the right places. But that's just when they are not on the field with the team. How much do you think those workouts really kind of impact coming together, or is it just kind of, okay, that looks great, it looks like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, but now we got to see how it translates out here?
Well, it translates well because it goes hands to hand. One of the things about repetition is getting those reps in. Muscle memory. When he's out there doing what he's doing by himself, he's going to bring that to the field because he's practicing it. And when you're practicing your craft, you're getting a chance to give your body that notion is this is what I need to do when I'm put in this situation come game time or come practice. One of the things that I looked at first is his weight, and that showed me enough right there that he's mature enough to know that, hey, in order for me to excel at this level, I have to be, ready, physically and mentally. And I think that he handled that well, and I'm looking forward to see what he can do. I think it's his job out the gate, regardless of what, system we have in there. And I'm pretty sure that these coaches know his, his skill set, and they're going to make sure that they put him in a situation so he can excel well.
One of the things I've also noticed in his posts and what I've learned from him as well is that not only is he putting in extra work, he's out there throwing the balls, he's getting those reps, as you said, getting those reps with the players, but he's also paying really close attention to his body, getting those little things done, making sure that his muscles and his body care is taken care of. And that's something that I think has to make sure as you go into your professional years, year-round, that those little things can't come up. That little extra deep tissue massages and all. I don't know what you call all that stuff.
You got to take care of that body. One of the things I talk to you about a lot is it took me a while to understand that, but when I caught on, I took off, and that was the best thing happened to my career.
All right, so lots of hopes for Haskins to come into this. I mean, believing that, look, it's his team, and that's going to be a big difference. And even when I was chatting with him, he said there's a lot more confidence coming in this year because he doesn't have that, Case Keenum or Colt McCoy or uncertainty or what's going on with Alex Smith going around. This is his team, and it's his job pretty much to lose. But as coach has referenced many times, there's still going to be a competition. There has to be. And he says, I don't really care where you're picked, how much money you're making. You have to go out there and you have to earn it. And we're anticipating Dwayne Haskins Jr. doing that. But you also have Kyle Allen out there. So if we're talking about who he's going to be competing against, he's going to go against a quarterback that played in Carolina, that knows Scott Turner's system, that had success in it, also had a knack for maybe throwing a little few interceptions. That's something he's going to have to turn down or, work on if he goes forward. But how much experience of him in this system do you think will impact where he goes heading into this, especially if maybe he knows the system a little bit better than Haskins coming in?
I always loved to, watch the guys that knew more than me, regardless of who that guy might be, your competition or not. I pay close attention to what they're doing right and wrong, so I know what to do and what not to do. So having Cal here is basically, most might not see it as a plus, but I think it's a plus for Haskins because now he can really watch a guy who knows the system and know how to make those calls and what to do in certain situations. But when it comes to skill sets, I believe Haskins win. He has the bigger arm, he can elude tacklers, and he can just get the ball down the field to anybody at any given time. So I think it's his job, like I said, out the gate, but having a guy like Cal here is only going to help him mature a little faster in the system.
What makes it interesting as well is, of course, we've all been following very closely the development and the recovery of Alex Smith and how he's been coming back. Look, he's out there, he's practicing, he's making a case for it. He hasn't been cleared for contact. That's going to be something I think you have to weigh very heavily on. And I wouldn't want to be on the defense that has to try and go after him and be the one that has to risk that. I mean, his journey is absolutely outstanding. Whether he gets on the field or not, I mean, he's a voice in that locker room or in that quarterback room as well.
Yeah, his leadership has been here from day one, whether he was out there with the guys playing and since he was taken away from the game. I'm just happy for him. Being a guy that loved this game meant everything to me. And I remember having those opportunities. I cherished them every day. So I know he's cherishing this moment that he can literally be out there with the fellas again.
All right, so we talked a little bit about the wide receivers. Of course, Terry McLaurin, Steven Sims Jr. came on late. We're going to look forward to Antonio Gandy Golden. These G's are going to be catching people up. AGG and AG.
I'm abbreviating everything from now on.
Yeah, fair enough.
AG and AGG.
We'll have to make sure when we talk to them that that's okay, if there's any other way to go along. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how this group develops, and it's really kind of wide open to see who's going to be able to take over, even when you get into tight end. We'll get into that a little bit later. You're going to need some definite playmakers to step up, because if you have Haskins and that arm, and Kyle Allen that can throw as well, you have to have somebody that can stretch that field. So let's now hear, though, from the quarterback coach on the quarterback room and how he sees it developing. Here is Ken Zampese.
Quick question. When you plugged in the tape on Dwayne last year, could you give us like one or two things that you really liked, one or two things that maybe stuck out that he really needs to hone in on? And in your opinion, and I know it's hard to compare because you weren't here last year, was he put in a situation at all to succeed?
Yeah, I can't speak on last year. I know those coaches very, very well. Jay and I work together. I know he's fantastic. So we'll leave that at that. What I saw on the tape from Dwayne, he's very quick with the ball. A very short, quick stroke. He's accurate. He can repeat the same stroke over and over again. And those are the things that got me excited. Once he sees it, the ball comes off his hands very, very quickly. There's no wind up. There's no wasted motion or wasted movements. He's very, very efficient. And I love that part about him. He throws with touch and accuracy. And I just think there's a lot of meat on that bone to get. And he's just starting. He's just figuring it out. And I think the atmosphere of the building with Coach Rivera will bring the best out of him.
Santana, you talk as if you know what it's like to work with a quarterback. I think Tana's had like 15 different quarterbacks he worked with in his career. Look, as Zampese says, they're going to make sure they give it to him in edible bites to kind of just slowly bring them along, not overwhelm them all at once. Look, the system underneath Gruden was very complicated. They're going to take their time with this. And really what they're wanting to see from him is the same thing that Gruden or that Rivera said when he first came in, is that leadership. How is he going to handle that part of it and step in?
Mental toughness, and that's one of the things about this league. If you can handle the things that you go in and day out, and the things that you're not, that's not expected, then you can be a great player in this level. And I think that he has what it takes. Now it's all about seeing it done.
I've talked with a lot of different quarterback coaches around the league, and they said, look, you can have all the intangibles, but you have to be a leader in that locker room if you want to be a successful winning quarterback. So look, it's Dwayne Haskins' job to lose, but we will see how that all plays out once camp begins. We'll have more coming back here. We're going to break down the running back room, and Logan Campbell, our Washington football insider, joins us next.
A moment of joy, a source of inspiration, an act of kindness, an old friend, a new beginning. some welcome relief or a cause for celebration? What's inside? Possibilities. What we deliver by delivering.
This summer, get back in the driver's seat. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Like the versatile HR-V or the fun-to-drive CR-V. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the CR-V at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
Training camp live. The fields behind us are empty, but soon they will be full as you see vets getting ready to come back. Rookies are here, quarterbacks, everybody going through their COVID testing to make sure that they are safe and healthy before they can officially start practice. Of course, if we're to take a look at how the rosters are shaping up, well, you take a look at the running back room, and there's a lot of players in there, but will they all be able to make the roster? How is it stacking up? We're going to bring in our Washington football insider, Logan Campbell. Logan, break down the RB room for us.
Thanks, Julie. Well, when it comes to the running back position, there is no shortage on this team. Right now, there are 7 running backs that bring a new level of depth and flexibility that we haven't seen before. We obviously have to start off with Adrian Peterson, who is the tone setter for this team. And running back coach Randy Jordan said it best, when God made AP, he made him a football player. Next up, we have Darius Geis, who has a set of tools that a lot of running backs don't have. He can make the catches, the runs, the blocks, and make the tough yards. But the question is, can he stay healthy? Last season, we had an appetizer, but he is ready to give us the whole entire meal. Next up, Bryce Love is finally cleared and ready to get going. Running back coach Randy Jordan actually has known Bryce Love since high school and compared his skill set to Christian McCaffrey. Now, someone to pay close attention to during training camp is Antonio Gibson. He's a player that wears many, many hats. He played quarterback and wide receiver in college, and he sees the offense from many different aspects, not just from the running back position. When you add in J.D. McKissick, Peyton Barber, and Josh Ferguson to the mix, we are going to see a full-on battle during training camp. Julian Santana, there is still so much up in the air when it comes to the running back position, but hopefully during training camp, we'll be able to get some answers.
Thank you, Logan. Looking forward to working with Logan throughout training camp. She's going to be our insider, bringing us all the news and notes that we can't get. Look, it's very interesting and going to be unusual trying to cover this team because we're going to be so separated from the team, the media, the way they go. It's going to be a lot of Zoom interviews, so very different going through that. Look, Randy Jordan, the coach of the running back room, he was with the season last year with the team last year, and Gruden, one of the coaches that did carry over. He said, look, this is the most versatile room that he's had because in this system, in Scott Turner's system, you have to be able to not just run, but you have to be able to catch. I mean, you saw what they did with Christian McCaffrey, over 2,000 yards with him. They like to be able to disguise that. You take a look at this room, and I mean, Adrian Peterson, he can still get it done, but, you know, you look at the yards that he gets, he's not the Adrian Peterson in his 20s. He still, though, is somebody you can rely upon.
Very dominant, and I think one of the things that you can speak on when it comes to that running back room is that they have a running back by committee, you know, at hand right now. You know, you don't necessarily have to have one guy that's carrying the load. When you have AP, he's the workhorse. He's the guy that I think that I will always say, I need to see him on first and second down. But if you have a healthy, you know, Bryce Love and Geis, who knows how that thing might mix up. But then you also have a young guy coming in, Antonio Gibson, that can be that Christian McCaffrey. So I think they have a great room that they can always decide, you know, week of that how they want to run the ball, what we want to show teams. And I think that's a great thing to have, that you can always switch up and say, hey, I want to do this more this week, or I want to pound the football. Later in the season, we want to pound the football, so it's great to have an AP on your team.
You know, I heard that they could carry 4, maybe 5 running backs, depending on how they decide to classify Antonio Gibson. Look, he's right now spending most of his time in the running back room, but of course, He's known to be a receiver, and again, even as Logan was saying, he played quarterback, so he sees the field differently than when you just call him in. And there are times where he's in the running back room and he's seeing it from the wide receiver standpoint. They're like, wait a second, there's a different package for you. How challenging is that for a player that plays both positions but spending most of his time in just one room?
Well, I'm curious. I'm curious to see what he wants to do more of. When I watched his film, I thought immediately that he would be that receiver on this level. He's bigger than most of the guys, but you can line him up in the slot. Nowadays you have these guys with that stature in the slot more often. So I'm interested to see what he wants to do more of, but I think he has a great skill set that they can throw him anywhere. And I think when it comes down to making that roster out, they can always say, well, you're going to be a receiver this week, but we're going to use you in certain packages in the backfield. So he's a guy that's going to get a lot of touches because he can do so much.
And look, I mean, she mentioned it right there. So much excitement around Darius Geis. I mean, look, when you saw what he could do, it just makes you feel like Randy Jordan had it right. It's the appetizer, but you want so much more. And I know he is so anxious to get out there and be able to prove what he's capable of doing. He hasn't really fully been able to do that yet so far, spending the last 2 seasons ending up on IR. And then Bryce Love, I can't wait to see what he can do and coming on the field. And look, he's cleared to play. It's just going to be a matter of when he gets out there if he can make those cuts and do all of that. But those 2 players, with their hands, with their ability to run, could really be dynamic for this team.
I think it's great that you have 2 guys that you can really lean on and say they're capable of being the guy for us. But it's also great to have a guy like AP there, because now you get the chance to have those 2 guys sit back and watch a pro be a pro. And he showed that from day one. I don't even know why a year or 2 ago we were sitting here thinking about not playing this guy. So just having that guy in a room is going to bring these guys and speed things up for them, because they're going to get a chance to sit there and watch how he eats, how he takes care of himself, and how he goes out there and handles his business on the practice field and take it to the game field in between those white lines. So I'm happy to see what this room could be together, and when it comes time, they're going to be able to lean on all of them.
You mentioned what he eats. I mean, he's openly admitted that he likes honey buns a lot. And exactly how long you microwave them. So it blows my mind that he can eat that. But then look, I mean, when you're training and you're working that hard during the off season, I suppose you can have a honey bun here or 2.
Yeah.
Not now for us. We're on this side of it. We're sitting during
I still
practices.
sneak one in here and there, but
But there is something to be said for the experience that he does bring. And even Peyton Barber coming in, he's a very consistent runner. You know what you're going to get from him. He had some good years with Atlanta, over 800 yards a couple years ago. Then last season he split it with Ronald Jones. So you can expect him to be in the mix as well. Look, it's a good, as you said before, it's a good problem to have, to be able to have those options. And if everybody is healthy, then look, they have even more decisions on their hand to be made. When we come back here on Training Camp Live, we're going to tell you what you can look forward to through training camp. We're going to be bringing you full coverage. We've been saying all along, since all of this transition, fans, we know you're hungry for information. We know you want to be able to see what is going on, especially since COVID, you can't come out to camp. We're going to make sure we tell you where you can get all that information.
Miracles. What we deliver by delivering.
This summer, it's time to get back outdoors. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Enjoy the sunshine in the family-friendly Pilot or the rugged Passport. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the Pilot at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
Training Camp Live. Players are not on the field right now. They can now basically do workouts, conditioning tests. They're doing a lot of their Zoom meetings, but soon, Santana, they will be on this field. About a week and a half, you'll see full practices, but they're going to be doing walkthroughs throughout that. We're going to be bringing you everything that we can. We're going to be here 9 a.m. every morning, Monday through Friday. So glad to be back with Tana. I mean, COVID had us apart for way too long, so this is good.
I don't have to worry about social distancing too much. We have this glass, so we'll be all right.
The COVID tests are happening weekly. We're going to make sure that we are safe throughout this entire process. We hope that you're being safe too as well. But make sure that you do tune in. We are on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube at Washington Football Team. So make sure you follow that, Washington Football NFL. Logan Campbell will be with us throughout the entire time as well. We're looking forward to her reports and welcoming her into the team and into the family as well. So look, day one is in the books for us. No whistles out here.
Yeah.
It's kind of actually cool a little bit, but it's going to be heating up pretty soon.
Can't wait.
All right, there you go. Can't wait. Stay with us again, and thank you for joining us for our very first training camp live. I'm Julie Donaldson, Santana Moss, and for Logan Campbell. We'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m.